Hi friend, this is Pat Sloan and it is UFO Friday. Yay! You know how I love Friday. Gotta love a Friday. Even with 2 broken wrists, I still love a Friday. Of course my Friday's no different right now than any other day of the week. Maybe yours is the same. So, okay, UFO Friday, our challenge today. Remember, you can download the calendar if you haven't done that yet. The challenge is to work on a UFO. And that means we're, early in the month. So if you have not looked at your UFO list, that is what you should be doing today. Get that UFO list out. Pick one that you should work on for July. You might decide, because it's nice out, and I know a lot of times our quilting is not as big a focus in the summer because you're able to go out and do yard things or outdoor stuff. Just sit outside and read a book maybe. That sounds good, doesn't it? So you might want to just pick one UFO for the whole month of July. Now, I had some of our friends ask me about the little booklets I have been using for tracking projects. So let's take a look at this one. The Quilter's Journal. And there's actually one for cross stitch as well. So if you like to do cross stitch, there's a version for cross stitch. Greg will just open a page, so you can write as your book. And so it's pretty much the first part is you can make a list of 50 projects. So if you want to list your first 50 UFOs, believe me, I think I have more than that. And then after that is the same. So each one is a project page. They're numbered. Yay! Go with that. First 2 pages. So you can use this however you like. If you want to keep track of it just like this, sometimes I just sort of ignore these titles and I just write about the UFO, whatever I need to write about. I don't, worry so much about what it is. I need to transfer my UFOs into this one. Once I am able to write again, I'm going to transfer them in here. So this is a great option. I'll link you down below to the quilting journal. So if you want to start tracking your work on them, what you've done, what order you might have them in. And you don't have to stay in the same order. You know that, right? Just because it's number 1 to begin with doesn't mean that it has to stay. Maybe you'll finish it. Yay! UFO Friday. That's your challenge for today. So first thing I want to do is talk about fabric selection for going on a picnic. I want to tell you a little bit about how my blocks are approached, and then I'm going to show you some other ways you can approach doing the fabric for the blocks. Okay, so going on a picnic, because of this, I am not able to make my blocks, and my friend Anne made all the blocks for me. In order to make it easier for Anne and me, I did the blocks very simply with the light of each block will be the background fabric. That way you can see the way the blocks are made like that. But that doesn't mean you need to do it that way. As you have seen out of my Facebook group, since Wednesday, there have been so many gorgeous blocks. People are using 2 fabrics. You don't have to use a background. You can use 2 different fabrics. And so what we're going to do is, I'll show you that. So here is my block again, so you can see mine. And then I did some fabric groupings. And we're going to shove this over a little bit. And then Greg is going to I can actually pull them in, Greg, I think. Okay, so here are some other groupings I did from my fabric bundle, which is goldenrod that I'm working with. The fat quarter bundle of that is sold out, but you can still get like a layer cake of this fabric line. I think a jelly roll. It's a really pretty fabric line. So these 2 would make a gorgeous star. Actually, I think if you did all of these, like you took the whole line and made like a whole quilt of split stars, it'd be so awesome. So Greg, maybe you can just take those away. Okay. So here's another option. The thing is to get sort of a light and dark, because you don't want this to mush together. It is kind of an optical illusion. I know for some people. So a strong contrast is good. That's why this is a small print and this one's more open. Here's another option where I use this same floral, but on the light background and then with a dark then this is a directional, so it has a kind of these little stripe things. I think this will be really cool to sew up. Okay, and then here is the same floral again in the green background, and then I used this sort of a very hand-drawn kind of chevron, and you can see from a distance that just starts to look like a pattern, like a blend. You can't really even see the pattern real distinctly, and that would be super cool in a split star block. All right, so then I asked Greg which 2 fabrics from the bundle would he pick. Now, you know, Greg is not a quilt maker. He is a maker. He makes all kinds of things. He just doesn't work with fabric generally. So do you want to show them yours? Okay, so these are the 2 Greg picked. He would do a very tonal star. This is the same print that we just showed you with the navy and the peach. So I think that'd be very pretty. So I will actually sew this up, I think, after I have hands again. So, okay. Now, my silent helper. Okay, I also want to tell you about, talk a bit about pressing. You know, in my books, I have pressing directions for all the blocks, but I don't do that on the free patterns because that's a whole nother step of, you know, work for a free pattern, and so you get that on my book projects. But because Anne has done a beautiful job with the blocks, I'm going to show you the back of this one and talk a little bit about the thoughts, because Anne and I are very similar. She's much more precise than I am. She's a beautiful quilter. She's also a designer. You've seen her work in the magazines. She's done patterns. Her company name is Gingham Girls. So what we have here is that Anne primarily has pressed to the dark side so that you don't see a shadowing of that navy against the white. So here's the seam allowance, and it is pressed to the dark side. But that is not an absolute 100% rule. She and I both follow that kind of the same way. It's how the blocks will interconnect and lay is sometimes more important. So here the seam allowance is to the light side. I don't know that I can pull that up. There we go. So here's the light side, and the seam allowance is going to the light side because it made it easier. Yeah, it made it easier to put that together. Now I do want to show you, she has the seams pressed to the side, but let me rotate. I'll do it on this dark one. It's a little easier to see. But sometimes it's easier to press a seam open. And here Anne did that, where she pressed the seam open. And that way she got a little bit more precise, or, you know, for whatever reason she wanted to do it on that one. So there is the back of a block, and that's how they look. One more part about the project that I want to touch base with, because a lot of you are new to working on my sew-alongs. This might be your very first sew-along of mine that you're doing. And so in order to understand the structure of what you're getting, like the website, where things are, I have a website for all my sew-alongs. It's called I Love to Make Quilts. And at the top of that is a table that shows all the different sew-along projects that are current and that have been held in the past. And that's the project page. The project page has the supply list, it has some fabric selections, and then at the end it has a table where I list, here Greg, yeah, it's got a table where each of the blocks is listed for the project. Now, if it's in progress, of course, I put them in there manually. There's nothing automated. I have to go to that page and insert it manually and link you to the block. But if you're looking at a past one, you can see all the blocks that are there. Now, once you click to the block, you're going to get the article, which is telling you about the block and the pattern for the block. When you get the email, you always go to the block page. It doesn't come in your email. It's a notice, and it tells you to go to the website, and that's on the block page. So there's really two things. There's a project page, and there's the blocks. That's it. And you can always find the project page by going to I Love to Make Quilts. Okay? Yes, that's good. That's good. One last thing. before we wrap up here on Friday is I had a little bit of a haircut. Not a ton, but it actually was a ton because I had not had my hair cut since February. So my friend Kim came to my home and cut it in the garage. She cut off a nice little bit so that I can have a little better handle on working with it until I am back to normal again, right? Thank you so much, everybody. I am so excited for our sew-alongs and for UFO Friday. Please come to my group Quilt Along with Pat Sloan because there are amazing going on the picnic blocks. They are just so cute, and there's so many. It's just wonderful to see all the variety. My links are all down below here. I love you. Have a wonderful Friday. See you online. Mwah.